The Battle of the Alamo, fought between February 23 and March 6, 1836, stands as one of the most gripping and iconic episodes in American and Texan history, a tragic last stand that would resonate far beyond the dusty plains of San Antonio. It unfolded in the midst of the Texas Revolution, a violent struggle in which Anglo-American settlers, known as Texians, along with Mexican-born Tejano, sought to break free from the increasingly centralized and authoritarian rule of Mexican President and General Antonio López de Santa Anna. The Alamo itself was a centuries-old Spanish mission, Mission San Antonio de Padua, which had been secularized and later transformed into a makeshift military outpost. Strategically located, it became a flashpoint when Santa Anna led a formidable force, estimated between 1,800 and 6,000 men, across the Rio Grande into rebellious Texas, determined to crush the uprising and reassert Mexican control. Inside the crumbling walls of the Alamo, a vastly outnumbered garrison of 180 to 250 Texan fighters prepared to make a stand. Among them were legendary figures like William Barrett Travis, the 26-year-old commander who had taken over military leadership after the illness of James Bowie, co-commander and famed fighter who had earned a reputation for his ferocity and skill with his long hunting knife. Also present was the famous frontiersman and former Tennessee Congressman Davy Crockett, who had arrived in Texas with a group of volunteers, seeking a new life and purpose on the frontier. The defenders, a mix of seasoned fighters, local volunteers, and recent arrivals, were poorly supplied, low on ammunition, and new reinforcements might not arrive in time. Yet they resolved to hold their ground. On February 23, 1836, Santa Anna's forces arrived and began to surround the Alamo. Over the next 13 days, a brutal siege ensued. Mexican troops set up artillery and launched relentless bombardments to weaken the fort's defenses, while the defenders worked tirelessly to reinforce walls, ration food, and maintain morale. Travis, realizing the gravity of the situation, wrote desperate appeals for reinforcements, including his famous "Victory or Death" letter, now a treasured piece of American historical writing. Small numbers of reinforcements trickled in, most notably a group of 32 men from Gonzales, but not nearly enough to tip the balance. As the siege dragged on, the defenders knew the end was near. Yet they refused to surrender. According to tradition, Travis drew a line in the sand with his sword, asking all who were willing to die for the cause of Texas to cross it. Nearly every man did. On the early morning of March 6, while most of the defenders were sleeping, Santa Anna ordered a full-scale assault. Four columns of Mexican troops attacked in waves from multiple directions. The first assaults were repelled, but the sheer number of attackers began to overwhelm the defenders. Scaling ladders were raised against the walls, and brutal hand-to-hand combat followed. Cannon fire from within the fort cut swathes through the attackers, but the defenders were running out of ammunition. Travis was among the first to die, shot through the head while firing his pistol. Bowie, too ill to stand, fought from his sickbed with pistols and a knife before being killed. Crockett's fate remains disputed. Some accounts claim he died fighting, while others suggest he was captured and executed shortly after. Within 90 minutes, the battle was over. Nearly every defender was dead. Some estimates say up to 250 Texan fighters died that morning, while Mexican casualties ranged from 400 to 600 killed or wounded. Santa Anna ordered the bodies of the dead defenders to be burned in mass pyres, denying them proper burials. Only a few women, children, and enslaved individuals were spared, such as Susanna Dickinson, wife of one of the defenders, who was released to tell the tale of what had happened inside the Alamo. But the Mexican victory came at a terrible cost. Instead of crushing the rebellion, the massacre at the Alamo inflamed it. Across Texas and the United States, newspapers carried the story of the fall. Volunteers poured into Texas, inspired by the sacrifice. The cry, "Remember the Alamo," became a unifying slogan for Texan forces. Just 6 weeks later, on April 21, 1836, General Sam Houston led a surprise attack at the Battle of San Jacinto. With shouts of vengeance and justice, his men defeated Santa Anna's forces in just 18 minutes, capturing the Mexican general himself and forcing him to sign the treaties of Velasco, effectively granting Texas its independence. Though a military defeat, the Battle of the Alamo became a symbol of heroic resistance, martyrdom, and the enduring struggle for freedom. The story of the defenders' courage against impossible odds continues to inspire generations, and the ruins of the Alamo remain a sacred site and powerful reminder of the price paid for liberty.